Alrighty, today we're going to be looking at the operation of the different types of directional felling heads. So this guy right here is a directional felling head. Now, these are used mostly in steep slope areas like New Zealand. You'll see lots of stuff like that. You can go on YouTube and you can see all kinds of different videos. But basically what these are is they're just a different type of felling device for knocking down trees and piling them. They're also really good for hoe chucking or piling trees and dragging them around. So I'm just going to show you the operation of the different types, as well as a very funky type that I created for a very specific purpose. So this one is the dangle version. As you can see, when you grab it, it has a full swing motion on it. It also has the ability to raise up and drop down, as we're going to do here real quick. So like I said, the purpose of these guys is very similar to a feller buncher. It's just kind of a little bit of a slower aspect with a little bit more control. Also works really good for steeper terrains because you're able to kind of throw the trees down the hill without trying to stack them. So the purpose of this guy, you have full control of the claw closing, as well as full control of a drop to knock the trees down, as well as if you're in this position, it's really great for doing hoe chucking, grabbing the logs and dragging them about. So we're just going to do some example drops. So just like when you're doing processing and falling trees, you kind of pick the direction this little fork at the top is pointing towards is the direction the tree is going to drop. So it's important you remember to line your claws and fork in the direction you want to knock the tree. So if you're on a weird terrain, you know, maybe you want to wrap around the tree by dropping it kind of more on this side, or it really depends on the terrain you're going. You can choose which direction you want to drop it. So in this case, I see an opening over here, so I'm going to drop the tree in this direction. Now in these guys, depending on the tree size you're dealing with, you can close fairly tight to get a good grip on it. I made it so the trees, or the grip closes kind of just in line with the tree, so you don't really crush the tree like you do on the other ones. It is pretty much built for doing single tree cutting, so it was much easier to control that. So once we're on the tree, you can hit B to activate your head. This is very similar to a processor. Now on this one, unlike the processor, it does not grab the tree and hang on to it. So as soon as we make our initial cut, our saw will go. I then drop the tree in the direction I want it to fall, but it is loose in my grapple. Like it doesn't hang on to it like the processor does. So you can pick up the tree or drop it at will as you're cutting. Very useful if you're just doing a lot of tree felling downhill and you don't want to have to constantly play with buttons on and off. So again, we're going to grab another one here. And give it a little snip, and then again drop it. Smaller trees will fall a little bit faster because there's less weight to them, obviously. And we're just going to kind of grab another couple here. Again, you have full control of raising and lowering the head for felling options or for chucking options. And when I say chucking options, if you want to drop the head, you do have the ability to grab multiple trees to drag them around, pick them up. If I can actually pick them up here. There we go. You can drag them about. Now, keep in mind this is a dangle head, so it's going to be a little bit trickier to control to move them around, but you guys will figure that out after you play with it for a little bit longer. I'm just going to drop one more with this guy. And again, line it up. You can do directional drops. You can turn it, make it fall back towards yourself if you want. Probably not recommended that you make it fall right on the cab, but, you know, to each their own. And again, on my trees, on my maps, I made them all very similar sizes, so you can actually grab these trees in full grip and let the claws close all the way by holding it down, and it won't close it all the way so that it crushes them, but it will keep a pretty stable grip on it. After you get your trees together, you can pile them, move them around, set them up for a skidder or yarder, whatever equipment you want to use to bring those up and down. But yeah, that's basically the operation of the dangle head. Very simplistic design and easy once you get using it. Again, once you get on steeper terrain, you'll find this guy to be a little bit more useful than a feller buncher, but I'll let you guys experiment with that. So hopping on to the next one. So this is basically just the exact same thing, but in a fixed variation. So the fixed one is a fully attached. There's no dangle in it whatsoever. So on this guy, you, like other machines like the feller buncher, have full control of the rotation, full control of the tilt of it. So unlike the dangle head, you control the falling of the equipment. So we're going to turn the head on. I'm going to grip up on the tree here a little bit. I don't put too much grip. One problem you're going to have with most fixed machines in this game, because of the attachment system, if you push too hard on the trees, so I'm going to push my stick forward a little here. you can start to see it kind of gets bowed and it kind of jerks around a little bit. So when you are doing this kind of felling, you need to be pretty careful. So after you do your initial cut, you're good to go, but don't try your best not to slam your head into the tree too hard, because if you do, it's not going to work out for you so good. Just going to get rid of that. And again, this is very similar to the other style, just the only difference is we have full manual control, very similar to the Feller Buncher, the C350 or 100. That same kind of heavy-duty control of the drop and full manual control, as opposed to using the dangle head, which is a little more free-falling. So again, this is the same concept. You can cut the trees, grip them, and again, it doesn't hang on to them, so if I let go, if I open my claws, you'll see it kind of slides down. You do have full control over the tree, but it does slide inside the head itself. So we're going to chop down one more. Now, you can grip up on it if you want, or you can just start cutting and then grip it after it makes its initial cut. It really depends on your style. You guys will figure out a method that works for you best. Yeah, and that's pretty much all there is to that. These are the two main units for using directional felling with the bar saws on the bottom. And now I'm going to switch over to another device that's a new kind of creation for fun here. So one sec. Okay, so this one is called the Piranha D-Limer, and it's got a beautiful little piranha here to really show off what it does. Now, this is not a realistic piece of equipment whatsoever. It's based off of the same directional felling head, except I removed the part on the top with the forks. This one does not have the ability to rise up. It is always in the down position, so we're going to hop in this guy here. Now, the purpose of this machine, after lots of people have asked, it is strictly built for delimbing. I mean, you can use it for felling or for chopping trees up on the ground as well, but this one is strictly built for felling. So, or sorry, for delimbing, not for felling. What I did with this guy was I have a whole bunch of people who are asking about getting a faster way to delimb trees. So in this game, there's no such thing as a hot live delimbing device, so it's really hard to create a proper delimbing device to get rid of all these limbs. So the method most people use is grab a chainsaw and they run up and down the tree and remove all the limbs. Well, it does take a lot of time and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So with this head, what I've done is I've made a super fast hot saw on the bottom, or bar saw on the bottom. So if you turn the head on by hitting B, that saw is now live on the bottom. So we're just going to grab one tree here first to kind of show what it does. Actually, we'll just grab this one at the front here. So now the purpose of this saw is to snip off the end, and it also at the same time removes all the limbs off of the tree. So first cut, this one. So there's a few trees for whatever reason that do not get rid of all the limbs. And I have yet to figure out why, but it does that on the in-game trees as well. It's probably because we're doing something we're not supposed to. But what we'll do is we're going to grab a full group here. So what you want to do is you want to try to grab up close to the end so that you don't have so many little bits laying around. And get enough in your grapple. I'd say like 5 is probably lots. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to snip the ends off. So just keep hammering X. If you keep hammering X, it'll kind of make these little nip cuts on the end here. And if you're still finding limbs on your trees, you got to sometimes move down a little bit and just kind of keep snipping them like that. It'll kind of clear the ends off of the trees. Now on the longer trees like these ones here, you'll see some of the limbs stick and stay on them. It's not every single tree, but there's a few of these particular ones right here that do that. But we're just going to kind of ignore that for the time being. You can run up that with a saw or pull it aside if you need to. But for the most part, this is just to kind of mass get rid of as much of the limbs as humanly possible. So there we got pretty much all of them on that one. Now there's no rhyme or reason to why sometimes the trees stick. Like for instance, this tree here for some odd reason has limbs on it. This one has limbs on it. But the same types of trees over here, which are absolutely identical to these ones, don't have limbs. So it's something to do with the cut node. What we're doing is not what is supposed to happen in the game whatsoever. This is kind of like cheating, I guess. So it's possible that the game just doesn't like what we're doing and it doesn't work every time. So I just kind of give it a little snip here, and I just keep snipping until all the ends are off, and you can see all the limbs are gone now off these pieces. And again, you're going to find the odd tree that just doesn't like that for whatever reason that science itself cannot explain, I'm sure. So these ones I'm going to move back just a little bit here. I try to keep them as lined up as possible. And you want to grip kind of not too far up because you're going to make a mess, right? This thing does cut the ends off. and it's going to leave a little bit of a mess behind, but it's still faster than trying to do it with a chainsaw, faster than trying to do it with the John Deere D-Limer as well. And basically, like I said, it's just kind of a turbo mode to get limbs off the trees as much as we can. And sometimes if you double cut the trees, if you still see limbs, it will get rid of them as well. So I'm trying to find a tree that's gonna hang up on us and not give us the limb cuts here, but so far we're doing pretty good. So you see there's that one tree that still has limbs on it, but as I keep kind of snipping, you see how they kind of go away? So sometimes you just got to keep slamming that X button to keep making the cuts, and it seems to get rid of it. And again, this is not a realistic piece of equipment whatsoever, so the whole purpose of this thing was for the slasher. There's a whole bunch of people that really love the slasher but hate using the chainsaw to delimb everything. So by doing this, you can just kind of really quickly go through in mass droves and clear all the trees' limbs off without having to play around with the chainsaw. And here's one that's got hung up, so we're going to try moving up a little bit. And we'll snip, snip. There we go. So still some on the end. Now, if they're on the very end, it doesn't really matter if you're in the slasher because you're going to probably be cutting those off anyway. Let's grab this bit here. And again, you have to have them lined up with the saw blade. So if you're too far back, the other ones won't cut. So we're going to kind of move her back a little bit here. And you can drag your ends to wherever you want to kind of cut them up. So there you go. We got rid of all the limbs on those ones. And I don't need to do all these to kind of show what the purpose is, but again, the cuts are not realistic. The speed is not realistic, but so far there is no better method I've found to getting rid of limbs. This does cut them up really quickly and leave you with a pile. Then you know you can pull up with your slasher and just start loading them onto the truck and cutting them into shorts. Again, it's really dependent on where you grab the tree to determine how much space you got left on the ground for parts and pieces, but I'll let you guys, it's experimental, it's kind of a fun toy. I'll let you guys kind of play with it and see what you come up with, but if not, you can still use it for hoe chucking as well. You know, like it's a great head for sliding trees around, moving them around. Like I said, you can drag them up hills and move it. Like I said, the only difference on this guy is he does not have the ability to lift up. It's always going to be locked in this down position because it's built strictly for that purpose. So yeah, that covers all the stuff on the dangle felling heads that we were looking at, and this Piranha D-Limer, which will be a funny little toy for you guys to play with. But if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the video below, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.